So I have to tell you guys, I woke up this morning thinking about a family of complete strangers and worrying about them as I have been worrying about them for the past several days. So here's what happened. When we flew home from Maine, we were on different flights. Bob was on a different flight. Tony was on a different flight. Lamar and Heather and Doc and I were on a different flight. And so I got on the plane and I was on the aisle seat in row 22, and seated at the window was a girl who was like maybe 25 or so with pink hair. And then in the middle seat was a 7 or 8 year old little girl, absolutely breathtaking child. Her hair in braids, big brown eyes, just precious. And she's got her like tablet in its purple protective case on her lap, and she's struggling with the seatbelt. And so I showed her how to buckle it in and adjust it and everything, and she's looking around, and she's there's something clearly not right. So I said to her, "Honey, have you ever been on an airplane before?" And she said, "No, this is my first time on an airplane." And she's clearly anxious. And now she's asking me questions. What's going to happen to my ears? Because some family member had told her that her ears would
They'd
do
pop.
weird stuff on the plane. So keep
Yeah.
in mind that the policy of airlines now is to make it really difficult for families to sit together. There's like a little family tax. They charge you extra if you try to book the whole row or whatever. So this child's family was all over the plane. So I said, well, when the plane gets up high in the sky, it can make your ears feel a little funny. Does it hurt? Doesn't really hurt. It'll sound like you can't hear as well, and then you'll yawn or swallow, and all of a sudden everything will be loud again. And she said, "I'm scared of my ears." So I said, "Do you have any gum?" And she shook her head. And I said, "Gum really helps." And from the seat in front of me, Lamar's hand reaches back, a plastic canister of fruit punch flavored gum. So I shook it out and handed it to her. And she said, "What do I do with it?" I said, "Well, you chew it when we take off and land." So she puts the gum in her mouth and she starts to chew. And now the airplane is making noises. There's all these like, and she's gripping what is that? And I'm trying to explain they're putting the suitcases away and they're getting ready to push away from the gate. And she's like, "Are we in the air yet? Are we in the sky?" Because the
How old
windows
is
were
she
down.
again? How old is she?
7. The
7.
windows
Okay.
are down. So I tapped the girl at the window seat and said, "Hey, would you lift the window? This is her first time on an airplane and we need to see." And I'm like, "What'll happen is we'll drive out to the runway like we're in a car, and we'll go faster and faster and faster. And then suddenly, you won't even know it. We'll be flying in the sky, and before you know it, we'll land and everything's going to be fine." And she's looking at me and she's nodding. She's worried about her ears. She's trying to use her tablet. The pilot had announced we didn't have Wi-Fi on this plane, so that's a no-go. So I'm showing her how to pull up a game instead. And here comes another noise. And she grabbed me and she said, "Are we going to die?"
Oh, no.
And I said, "Honey, no, we are not going to die. Where is your mom? Where's your mommy?" And she points, and the mom is a row ahead of me, sitting by the window. And now the pilot is like, "Prepare for takeoff, flight attendants." And I said, "Would you feel better if I changed seats with your mom and your mom could sit here with you?" And the child with tears in her eyes is nodding her head. So I take off my seatbelt. There's the flight attendant, like Superman. Like they can hear it. "Ma'am, you've got to put your seatbelt back on." I said, "This child, she's really scared. Can I switch?" So the flight attendant's like, "Do it fast." Everybody gets out of the row. The mom and I switch. The little girl has her mom. Everything's going to be fine. And now the child is telling me that they're going on their first family vacation ever to Orlando, and she's going to see palm trees and Mickey Mouse. Guess what happened? We land. All flights to Florida canceled. They're not going anywhere. Wednesday is the first day they might have a chance to get to Florida, which is why I woke up this morning going, "I hope my new little friend is on her way to Orlando."
I hope so, too. You were so sweet, and Lamar was so on point to get the gum to her right away.
It's the stuff we wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't do on the regular show. The Oddcast on the free Bob and Sheri app.
I now must shout out the airport police officer who was my hero in blue, and the airport security officer who was the sweetest man alive, and a complete stranger who prayed the rosary over me while this was happening. So here we go. we had a very hectic itinerary over the weekend, and none of us got much sleep. And every airport was like the fall of Saigon. I mean, it was lines for security that went 2.5 or more hours. Bob and I witnessed a woman sobbing and breaking down in Boston at the special services desk. Like, we saw the full parade of chaotic, stressed out, devastated humanity. Flights canceled, flights delayed, families left holding the bag with nowhere to go. It was rough. We were tired. And I did something really, really stupid. I said goodbye to everybody and I hit the ladies' room on my way to, because Kev was picking me up. And I hit my ladies' room and I had my backpack and my handbag and my phone. And I washed my hands and I trotted out to get in my husband's truck. And then I realized my roller bag. I left it in the stall in the ladies' room on the other side of security. So I go back to the security guys and I explain what happened. They're like, can't help you. Nope, nope, nope. So then I go to American Airlines and I explain the situation. And that airport was like, I've never seen anything like the airports over the last couple of days. That American Airlines employee said to me, I can't help you, but I know who can. Come with me. And he took me to another employee. And she said, she heard the problem and she said, I can't help you, but I know who can. Come with me. And she brings me to this uniformed police officer. And I explained the problem to him and he sighed and he said, you know, it's a big airport, right? I said, I know. And it's really crazy today. He said, and let me just guess that you have no idea which bathroom you left your bag in. I said, no, no, no. No, if you're in the atrium and you're headed toward the E terminal, it's the first ladies' room next to Jamba Juice. And he looked at me and he said, that's some outstanding work right there. I'll be back. And he disappears. He disappears. And now there's this other woman who's waiting for the police officer to help her. And she's going, what's up? And I explained to her and she said, he's going to get your bag. I just know he's going to get your bag. I said, I just sent a man into the ladies' room in search of my luggage. I feel terrible. So we're chatting. It's about 20 minutes. We're chatting. And I see in the distance my police officer hero, and he's got my bag, which is a distinctive color. It's dark green, so it's a little different from a lot of your roller bags. And with him is this 6.5 foot tall, drop dead, James Bond looking airport security official. I mean, this guy looked like Idris Elba. I mean, he was hot as a hot dog. And here come my two rescuers. My bag has no tag on it. And the airport official, I'm like to the cop, you found my bag, you found my bag. He said it was right where you told me it was. And the airport official said, I can't let you have it until I can prove that it's actually yours and there's no identification on it. Can you open it? So I opened it and he looks around. He goes, do you have like any prescription medication or anything in there? I said, no. And we're standing there and I said, wait, I have a picture of myself in this bag. And he said, you're carrying a picture of yourself. I said, yes, one of my listeners gave it to me. And so I open the bag and I dig around and it's a picture of me holding Olivia as a baby on a Bob and Sheri cruise with our listeners. And I handed him the picture and I said, it's from a long time ago and my hair was a different color, but that's me. So he takes the picture, he looks at the picture and he looks at me, he looks at the picture and he goes, well, ma'am, if you don't mind my saying so, you're a lot hotter now. I like your hair. And he hands me the picture back.
Is that right?
Bob and Sheri books, swag, and the mother of all mothers merch. Just hit shop at bobandsheri.com.
So last weekend, we had a big time in Maine visiting our listeners and also shaking hands to some of the folks we work with Big 104 in Maine, one of our main stations. And it was really a lot of fun, but because of the weather, it was really, really stressful. I just want to say, hundreds of people showed up literally to say hello, and we got to take our picture with them and shake hands and all of that. And the Scone Goddess Festival was fantastic. But because of the weather, it was really troubling. The East Coast was just pummeled with Debbie, and it started out rough. I spent on my way to get together with everybody in Boston, which was where we would drive to Maine from. I spent 7 hours in the Reagan airport, 7 hours. And I thought I was going to have to stay overnight. Luckily, I got out. By the time we got to Boston, we thought we were going to continue to Maine, but it was too late. Sheri found a VRBO. I don't know how she did it. Sheri would be a fantastic tour guide because no matter what happens, she gets the thing done. She gets the room, she gets the transportation figured out. She found us in Chelsea a room for everybody. Now, I would have liked to say there were 6 of us and there was one bathroom, so it was a little,
true.
it was a little tight, but it worked out okay. That was
listen. It
almost,
saved a lot of time. Me and you showering together. I thought it was a good thing.
that's right. I know, and I love.
We saved some water too.
Yeah, right. And so obviously there was some stress there. And then the next day, we've got to get up to Maine. We've got to make an appearance, and so we're driving just about 100 miles an hour because Lamar is driving. And we show up and, you have to be nice to everybody. You have to shake hands. You have to do this and that. So it was pressure packed every single minute. We thought we were going to have breakfast in Northport, Maine. Well, they changed the times for the festival. We were unaware. And so we had to skip breakfast and went to a convenience store to get a bagel. And so it was this. And after about 2 or 3 days of it, I finally get into a hotel in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, because we couldn't make it from Maine to Boston Airport to get flights. So we had to go almost 3/4 of the way there. And I went to bed, and all of a sudden, I've never had this experience before, but I had pain across my chest, which I've never experienced in my life. To the point, if I moved, I felt so uncomfortable. And I started, of course, being Bob, I go to the worst possible situation that I've got.
That it could be.
I got a heart
Yeah.
attack coming on here, right? And so I sit up and I just go, calm down. And that didn't work. Bottom line, I almost called an ambulance to go to whatever the hospital was. But
Oh
I
my
just
gosh.
sat and I kept saying to myself, this pain has been going on for 3 hours. So I'm thinking it's not that. I could not sleep. I know people exaggerate. I only got about an hour and a half sleep. I didn't get any sleep at all. And then we've got to get to Boston and leave at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I made it through the night, but that pain was still there. It was still terrible. Now we have to say goodbye to one another because we're flying in different flights. And Lamar was aware of that it was anxiety. It was an anxiety attack. And he went off with Sheri, I guess, and I had a separate flight. And all of a sudden I turn around and there's Lamar. And he's, this is so Lamar. He said to me, I know we're in the middle of an airport. Do you mind if I pray over you? And I said, no. And I had found 2 Aleve, which cost $7 just for 2. And I popped those. And he did a prayer, which I won't repeat here, but it was basically asking Jesus to relieve me of this. And I texted him just before I got on the plane and I said, I'm not sure if it's you or Aleve and Jesus, but it's a lot better.
Sign up for our newsletter. We never spam you.
Never did.
Get Bob and Sheri exclusives. Just go to bobandsheri.com.
So if you're just joining us, we were talking about cousins and cousin summers and how some people were really lucky to grow up in families where they had lots of cousins. Bob was talking about this thing he read about these grandparents who took all the kids, all the grandchildren every summer, and they had a bunch of land and the cousins all ran wild. And to me, that would be like the best thing ever. If you're lucky enough to have that, right? So my husband and my sister wife have 4 children, and 2 of Kevin's, my bonus kids, the 2 oldest, each are married with children. So his daughter Maggie, our daughter Maggie, has 3 little boys, and his oldest son Andrew has 2 little girls, and they are all like right around the same ages. And a week ago, we do this thing every year. It's called camp meeting, and it would take all day to explain it. Think of it like Methodist summer camp for the entire family, right? And It took me forever to understand it, but there's this enormous campground and everybody comes once a year. They come from all over the country and it is so wholesome and pure. That's why it took me so long to understand it because I don't come from that world. And so to be a visitor to it was insane. It's so wholesome. Like they're singing and volleyball and water fights. It's just insane. So these cousins, these 5 little kids, the oldest is 4.5, the youngest is a little over 1. These kids are growing up together right on top of each other, like in the perfect cousin tribe. And if you had anything that you could like point to in your own childhood, tell me you wouldn't want that. Did you have that,
yeah.
Lamar? I don't think you did. You never talk about cousins.
Well, yeah, we did, but see, we lived beside my grandparents on my father's side, and so he had a bunch of brothers and sisters. So multiple times during the year, people would come. You know, I had some family that lived in Atlanta. Oh God, they had money, whoo, buddy, and they would come down. And but everybody, so we would get together probably 5 or 6 times a year, and normally it would be like on a Sunday, and that everybody would bring food and whatever, and now the ones from Atlanta would spend the weekend, they would spend the night, but yeah, we did, and I played.
Where
with all my
where would
cousins.
they
It was
stay?
great.
Where were the fancy money people from Atlanta stay? Would they stay in a hotel or did they stay in a house?
No. They stayed in the house. They stayed in my grandmother's house. By the
Okay.
time all this started happening, they had put plumbing in for a bathroom. I don't think my cousin's father, Bill. I don't think Bill would be really big on the slop jar in the outhouse. So I don't remember them. I don't
You did
remember
say
them
there
doing
was
for that.
fancy
Yeah,
Atlanta
yeah.
money. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But for the
Yeah.
kids, that slop jar
Oh, yeah,
outhouse,
yeah.
man, that was a good time, right?
Yeah. Because just about everybody, I guess that's the only time they saw that. Well, I had two cousins that they lived in a house that didn't have any kind of hot water. They had to heat their water, and so later on they bought a mobile home, a double wide mobile home, and set it up. But their dad didn't want to hook up the plumbing because he didn't want them to get above their raisins. But finally, they did hook up the water. But they just lived in it without the water for a while.
Wait.
When you say-
no, stop. Dad didn't want to hook up the plumbing so that these children wouldn't get spoiled by their fancy new life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
He wanted to
Yeah.
keep them grounded. He just wanted to keep them grounded.
When you say didn't hook up the water, did you mean because of the toilet, or
Yeah.
was it running water? Was there running water in the house?
No, they had
Like
a spigot. They had a spigot. I mean,
a spigot.
like I say,
Yeah.
they had a spigot outside at the place.
But not inside. Bob is asking, was
Yeah.
there running water
But let me
inside?
tell
It
you
sounds
this.
like
Now,
the
let me
answer
tell you
is
this.
no.
They did not have hot running water and a bathroom, but they had the sweetest 65 Chevrolet Impala convertible that you would ever want to see. I mean, it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I'd have
guess
to
I'm not
drive
much
that
of
to the
a-
Motel 6 to take a
Yeah.
shower, I think. I mean,
I'm not a car aficionado, so I'm thinking on a icy February morning, I don't really care about your fancy Impala. I want a bathroom.
yeah. I mean, today, could you get away with that legal? I guess you could legally
you
today.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah, you own your
you
own
could.
piece of property. You can do what you want.
Yeah,
to.
that's true. That's true.
there's
There wasn't
no law
no HOA.
requiring
There wasn't no HOA around there. I'm promising you that.